A man was beaten to death in Iran, not for a crime, not for a protest, but for checking the internet. And that is just one of the stories the Iranian regime desperately does not want you to hear today. A massive explosion has rocked the Iranian province of Khuzestan, killing at least 14 IRGC members. The regime's official story? An unexploded bomb dropped by Israeli or American jets during the war accidentally detonated while being moved. But here's what they're not telling you. In the weeks leading up to this explosion, there has been a string of mysterious deaths involving IRGC members that no one has explained. This is the deadliest single incident since the ceasefire began on April 7th, and the real cause remains unknown. If you want to stay ahead of what's actually happening inside Iran every single day, hit like right now. It tells the algorithm this information matters. What makes this explosion even harder to ignore is the timing. Just days before it happened, Israel's defense minister issued a public warning stating that Israel may soon be required to take action again in Iran to ensure the regime cannot threaten Israel for years to come. That statement alone doesn't prove Israeli involvement, but it raises a question that won't go away. Was this truly an accident? Here's where it gets even darker. Iranian officials are not just afraid of Israel or America, they are terrified of their own people. Yesterday, Iranian lawmaker Sabeti openly admitted that the internet blackout, now running for over 2 months, exists because the regime fears citizens will use it to organize uprisings. He directly referenced the national uprising of January 8th and 9th, when security forces killed thousands of protesters in the streets. He warned that if the internet reopens, armed groups could mobilize through those networks. Think about that. A government so afraid of its own citizens that it would rather collapse its economy than let people scroll social media. If you find this kind of reporting valuable, drop a comment below. It genuinely helps this coverage reach more people. And the crackdown is not slowing down. Iran's Chief Justice went on live television and made this declaration that anyone connected to the January protests will be pursued, tried, and executed. His words were explicit. He said, and we are paraphrasing closely here, those who shed blood, those who caused insecurity during wartime will be punished under the full force of the law, no matter what foreign powers say. Executions are continuing daily. Then came the story that stopped us cold. A father of 2, identified as Ham Aladdin, was arrested for using Starlink to access the internet, which has been banned since February 28th, the start of the war. He was never shown evidence. He never saw a courtroom. He was beaten in jail until he died. After his death, the regime confiscated his body and told his family they could only have it back if they signed a contract agreeing never to speak publicly about what happened. This is not the first time. During the January protests, families were forced to pay for the very bullets used to kill their loved ones and sign documents stating their family member was a regime soldier, not a protester, before the body would be released. We cover these stories because the world needs to know, and the Iranian people deserve witnesses. On the diplomatic front, Iran has submitted a new proposal in response to U.S. amendments delivered by White House envoy Steve Witkoff. According to Axios, whose journalist has been the closest source on these negotiations, Iran moved slightly closer to U.S. demands, but did not fully accept them. That's why President Trump, when asked about it directly, said, "I'm not satisfied with it." He described Iran's leadership as disjointed, with different factions pulling in opposite directions. He said their navy is gone, their air force is gone, and their country has been, in his words, decimated. Trump also held a top-secret briefing with CENTCOM commanders in which military options were presented in the event negotiations collapse entirely. When asked publicly about those options, Trump was blunt. The choice is between going in heavy and, as he put it, blasting the hell out of them or finding a deal. He said he prefers not to, on a human basis, but made clear the military option is fully on the table. U.S. supply planes have been increasing their presence at bases across the Middle East daily. This situation is not winding down, it is coiling tighter. To truly understand why Iran's regime behaves the way it does, the paranoia, the executions, the internet blackouts, you have to go back further than 1979. You have to go back to the 19th century Qajar dynasty, whose decisions still echo inside Iran today. We break all of that down in our new multi-part podcast, launched today. Links are in the description and on the end screen. Check it out. If this daily coverage has given you even one piece of information you didn't have before, the single most powerful thing you can do is subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it ensures you never miss an update on what is happening inside Iran, because this story is far from over.